What's good, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Robbie Brown. I'm going to be covering a plethora of topics on this channel. I'm really excited. But my first video is going to be about my experience with um, uterine fibroids. So I actually did an interview with the local news station here, and I posted it, and I've gotten a lot of questions. I post on my Instagram about my experience, and I wanted to actually do a detailed a detailed video experiencing, how things were leading up to it, and basically how my recovery has been. And this is something that I've learned that so many women suffer in silence with, because we have normalized pain. And yeah, we don't know that it's a whole community of women that's suffering the same thing we're suffering. Now, my myomectomy was abdominal myomectomy. So I was cut down the center of my stomach because I had a pedunculated uterine fibroid. So for those of you that don't know what a pedunculated uterine fibroid is, it's when the fibroid grows on top of the uterus. So mine grew on top of the uterus, and it grew from 2014, from 6 centimeters to 26 centimeters. So by the time I had surgery, the fibroid was like 9.5 pounds. And I'll actually show pictures in this video. But the experience, it was horrific. So just a little backstory. My journey with uterine fibroids started when I was 16 years old. I would tell my mom, like, I had very painful periods to the point where I could not go to school. I would be home from school, just curled up in a ball. They did an ultrasound, and that's when we found out what was going on. It was so bad at sometimes where my uterus, it felt like my uterus was contracting, and I couldn't explain to my mom what I was feeling, the pain I was feeling. And so the doctors end up figuring out, what was going on with me. I got sick in October of 2019. I had pneumonia, actually, and I went to the hospital. They kept me for 3 days, sent me home. I went back to work. Got to work that Tuesday, started feeling like this uncomfortable pain, and it was like rising up in my chest. And, for a minute, I'm like, well, maybe I don't know what it is. I'm just getting a bug, a stomach bug, something. Then I went to work that Friday. I could not walk. I could not bend down and pick my purse up. I'm a director for a child care facility, so I had to call one of my teachers into my office to pick up my bag, pick up my purse, and hand it to me. I drove home, and every single bump, because if you're from Michigan, you know that our roads are terrible, right? So every single bump that I hit, it was just bad. Like, I felt like somebody was stabbing me on the inside. Got home that Saturday, could not move at all. Had to call my father and my brother and tell them they needed to come take me to the hospital. Got to the hospital, I could barely walk. I couldn't walk. So they put me in a wheelchair and got me into the bed. I had to do all these x-rays and stuff. And then after the x-rays and the ultrasounds came up, they said, Miss Brown, did you know that you have uterine fibroids? And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of that. They said, well, did you know that you have a really large one that's 26 centimeters? Wow. In that moment, I didn't know what to think. So they asked me, had I had any ultrasounds, what previous care had I received for them. I gave them all that information. So they went and they pulled the MRIs from 2014 of September 2014, and they saw that it was there, and it was just 6 centimeters. So 2014 to 2019, right? It grew from 6.9 centimeters to 23 centimeters. How does that happen? Right? How does that happen? The first thing they said was, well, we need to find out what's growing it. What do you mean, what's growing it? They didn't say anything. Because at the time, I still had pneumonia, so they couldn't even cut on me. So I could not have surgery. My concern was, here it is. I'm a 37-year-old woman. I don't have any children. And that's something that I want to experience when the time is right. But when the doctors came in and talked to me, they let me know, the possibilities were very high that I could have a hysterectomy, because not only did I have the one fibroid that was on top of my uterus, I had 4 that was inside my uterus, right? But the one that was on top was so huge, it started shifting my organs, and part of it was dying off. So that was the pain that I was feeling. They told me that I needed to see an oncologist, and it's a very high possibility that it was cancerous, and they would do a pathology report when they cut me open and got the fibroid out. If the pathology report shows that it's cancer, then they would take my uterus out completely. I think that was the most devastating conversation that I've had in all my life. No woman wants to hear that you are not going to be able to do one of the most precious things that a woman was created to do. I am a God-fearing woman. I was raised in a church. Yes, I know faith. I know God. But I have to be completely honest, and this is a transparent moment for me. I don't know where my faith was in that moment. I am active at my church, and I have a really good relationship with my pastor and my first lady. And on top of that, I am a bit of an introvert. So my life, to me, that was a part of my privacy, right? But in that moment, I needed to open up and talk to somebody and let them know what was going on with me. I do believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that God will intervene and He will make things happen in your favor. So I did contact my pastor and my first lady, and I let them know what was going on. And of course, they were there to support me. They prayed for me. They came to the hospital when I had surgery. My pastor and my first lady was there, right? Shout out to Pastor Jay and Lady Kimya. I love you guys. But going back, to hear those words that I would possibly have to have a hysterectomy, and it was a high chance that I was going to have a hysterectomy, it was a lot. I called my best friend and I let her know what was going on. And I explained to her, like, this is what they're saying. They're saying that, I'm going to have a hysterectomy. I have had a miscarriage, which was a devastating loss. Like, you carry your child until you're 12 weeks and only to hear that there's not going to be a baby in a few months, So my journey with fertility, it hasn't been easy. I always felt like I had to do a little more than the average woman. And yeah, it was a lot. So getting back to the topic, the doctor that I originally saw, he was just team hysterectomy. He gave me no hope. He was just going to take my uterus, and that was it. And you just need to deal with it. It's other ways that you can be a mom if you really want to be a mom, which is fine, which is cool. Like, I actually desire to adopt. I desire to have children. Do I want to have a lot of kids right now at my age? No, I'll be 38 years old in November. But to just have that option taken away from me, that was a lot. And that was just something that I wasn't ready for. So when I talked to my best friend, and I'm so thankful for my circle of friends. Like, I have a circle of sisters. I don't call them my friends. I have a circle of sisters. It's about 6 of them that I know I can call when things are going on. But I called my best friend in this moment, and I let her know what was going on. And She came to the hospital. She was like, well, we're not doing a hysterectomy. This is not going, we need to find other options. So at that point, every time this particular physician tried to schedule my surgery, for whatever reason, it would not work out. It was getting approval with my insurance, or it was me having to have pre-authorization with insurance. It's whatever, for whatever reason, it could not happen, right? So I sought out a second opinion because the doctors just went MIA. They wasn't calling me. I didn't know what was going on. At this point, I'm on FMLA. I'm off of work. You only get so many weeks off of work, and I'm running out of time. During this time, I've learned to embrace vulnerability. Being vulnerable is something that you have to embrace in order to survive, and that's with any situation in life. Like, you have to be open and really submit yourself to vulnerability, or a lot of times you'll get stuck. So I received a text message from a lady named Joanne that goes to my church. Hey, Joe, I love you. And she asked me how I was doing. And in that moment, I'm going to tell you, I wanted to lie and say, oh, I'm fine. But in that moment, I was still like trying to figure out what was going on. I'm looking at these MRIs with this huge mass sitting on top of my uterus. And I told her, I said, I'm not okay. If I can be honest. And I just like something just like released in me. And she doesn't know it, but the whole time I'm like texting her, and I'm like, I have tears streaming down my face. Like, I need a miracle. I need something to happen. And she said, she texted me back and said, contact U of M. Have you ever considered U of M? Never considered U of M, right? I contact U of M. They gave me a doctor. The doctor couldn't see me until would have been February of 2020. But she gave me a referral. She said, I'm going to have you go and see a doctor named Dr. Tomany. Dr. Tomany, she was a fibroid specialist. Dr. Tomany was looking at the MRI that I had done in November of 2019. And she looked at it. She said, I'm going to have to refer you out to an oncologist. Again, I'm sitting at the table. I'm sitting on the table in the room of the doctor's office. And I'm like, can you explain to me why I need to see an oncologist? Just a quick backstory again. I lost my mom in 2014 to cancer, right? So hearing I need to see an oncologist, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, wait, no, what's about to happen? So she said, I'm going to explain to you why you have to see an oncologist. So the mass had grew so fast and so large between the time span of 2014 to 2020, and the concern was maybe it's a cancer feeding it. Usually, any tumor, any mass that grows as rapidly as mine did, it's something that's feeding it. Got to the oncologist. Dr. Razul was wonderful, amazing, compassionate. And the one thing she said, well, I'm going to bring on, she said, because I'm an oncologist OBGYN. So we have to bring on a regular OBGYN. I'm going to do the surgery. We're going to cut it off. We're not accepting that it's cancer. We're going to fight for your uterus. We're going to do everything we can to save your uterus. And in that moment, I knew that God had showed up on my behalf. She got in contact with Dr. Zwane. Dr. Zwane is my OBGYN to this day. He's in in Farmington Hills, Michigan. And when I met with him that next day, he said, he's like, it's a possibility that you could have a hysterectomy, but we're not claiming that you're going to have a hysterectomy. We're going to do everything we can do to save it. He explained to me that I had these other fibroids, these little fibroids that were inside of my uterus. I had a total of 5 that came out. The biggest one was on top of my uterus. So Dr. Razul, the oncology OBGYN, she took that one off, and Dr. Zwane removed the other one. So within a week of me leaving there, Dr. Razul called to schedule, her nurses called to schedule my consultation and schedule my surgery for January 3rd. On January 3rd, I had my surgery, and because I had these amazing, amazing doctors, and I had these amazing people like praying for me, my uterus was saved. I have my uterus. So if I want to have a baby, I can have a baby. One thing I've learned is that a lot of times, if you are not careful, doctors will recommend a hysterectomy because it's the easiest thing to do. I thank God that I had a best friend that was kind of like, nah, we're not doing that. Like, you need to get a second opinion. Had I not had that support, I don't know, this could have went any way, because it came down to being scary, you know? They're saying that this could be cancerous. Who wants cancer growing in their body? This is something that's killing millions and millions and millions and millions of people. Like, and you don't want that growing in your body. But I realized that I couldn't make hasty decisions either. And it was a reason that the surgery and the MRI and all the other stuff was being blocked. It was being held up for a reason. A lot of women, I know women that have had hysterectomies and their situation was nowhere near as severe as mine. And I educated myself going through this, and I have not been, I'm more educated than I've ever been since I've been diagnosed with uterine fibroids, and I was at 16. So I know that there's other methods other than surgery, but at that point, mine had gotten so bad, I needed to have surgery. I am definitely an advocate for natural healing, getting rid of uterine fibroids naturally. I did my research with that, but the best option for me in that moment was surgery. I tell anybody, even if you are practicing a natural way, it's always good to consult your physician to see exactly what's going on. And then you can implement those natural products into your lifestyle. So I had to have the surgery. And from that, I started educating myself on supplements and stuff I needed to take. My diet, things that I needed to eliminate from my diet. Women that have uterine fibroids should not consume dairy products. It's not good for us. Soy is another thing that we need to stay away from. Just monitoring like what we intake. Our bodies are a temple, and it's up to us to, take care of this temple, right? But if we're quiet and we're suffering in silence, 9 times out of 10, we're not getting the proper care that we need. So I really wanted to come and kind of just share my experience and give hope to a woman that's dealing with this. I had so many women reach out to me on Instagram because I have shared my story on Instagram. If you want to see pictures, I am Robbie Brown _after_Brown on Instagram. I've shared pictures. I've posted the link to my interview with Carolyn Clifford just to give you some hope, because all hope is not lost with uterine fibroids, but there has to come a lifestyle change, and you have to be willing to open up and share what you're going through. One thing I've learned in this process is that I suffered in silence, and it was so many other women that has experienced the same thing that I've experienced, right? But I would have never known that because I had I not gotten sick, had it not grown that big, I wouldn't have known that. Had that fibroid not grown to 26 centimeters, I probably would have been just walking around with it and normalizing pain and popping 5 Tylenols every 3 hours to just get rid of the pain. And I'm thankful that I went through that, because after my surgery, having the surgery, I feel like a brand new woman. And not to give too much information, but I started my cycle when I was 13 years old. So all I knew was pain that was associated with my cycle. I thought it was normal. You have your cycle and you're going to cramp, right? And you're going to cramp really bad to the point where you have to take pills. You're going to lay around. You need a hot water bottle. You are wearing overnight pads for the duration of your cycle, only to find out after I had my surgery, this was not normal. Here it is. I'm 7 months post-op now, and I'm able to work out on the day that I come on my cycle. I don't cramp. I know what it's like to wear a regular pad. And in that, again, I made some changes. So I'm not using the big name products. I'm taking a more natural approach, because I'm looking at the chemicals. I'm looking at the packaging of the things that, our Yanni is precious, right? And it comes a point in time when we really have to educate ourselves and find out about the different toxins and the materials that's used when you are putting those things down there. Just to be frank, you need to find out about that. But just to know now that I suffered for so many years and that pain was not normal, it's wow, mind blowing. How many other women are suffering with this same thing? And suffering in silence because they've normalized the pain. I am just thankful that I went through what I went through. It had to happen to me so that it could happen for me. Because it could have went a completely different way. But my faith and my village and awesome doctors that not only practice medicine, but have compassion and care about what I care about, I'm able to sit here and let you know that it's life after a myomectomy. Yes, we don't want to have surgery, but sometimes you have to have surgery. It's different tools. Now, medicine is so advanced. They have different ways, not less invasive ways to get rid of uterine fibroids. A popular one is Assessa. Do your homework on Assessa. Research it. Find out if that's something that you could use. To my understanding, the recovery time is a week. Some women are able to have bikini cuts, where I'm cut straight up and down. That's something that I have to deal with. But scars are evidence that you made it through something. But it's just letting you know that you are not in this alone. Don't suffer in silence. Again, I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well, but I'm more active on Instagram. My handle on Instagram is at Robi, R-O-B-I, Brown, and _. That's Robi, R-O-B-I, Brown, like the color, _. And yeah, check out my page. Like and subscribe, because I'm going to be sharing so much information. I'm going to be sharing some products that I've been using since my surgery. Some maintenance products for my uterus. We're talking about bee stings. We're talking about soap. We're talking about sanitary napkins. I'm going to cover it all on this page. I am looking forward to this journey. And yeah, until next time, take care of yourself. Bye.